You see here, so we had this initial drop, then a lot of chop. And by the way, for me, this is kind of where I think we are in Bitcoin. So this is 2017. My guess is we're kind of right in this area here, right? We just bottomed out. We're going to kind of do this. And then I think you might just get that one last dip, which will be the bottom level. This will kind of flush people out, that final flush that'll occur. But really what you can see here is you traded sideways for a long period of time before that last flush, and then it was a beautiful rounded bottom. And again, there's not going to be anything you're going to be able to find that's going to be like, aha, this is 100% a bottom. But it's more just, again, saying, okay, we have a rounded bottom, and then you start seeing, okay, once you start taking out some of these former levels, like to me, that would be something that I would watch, is this was a very, very keen level. Once we got above there, notice how Bitcoin really got some serious upside action. Now, again, did we come back and retest it later on? Absolutely. Right here, you retested it, but it quickly recovered again and got back above that level. But again, the things like rounded bottoms, cup and handle patterns, little things like that, and taking out former support that are now resistance levels, those would be things that I would look for when it finally bottoms out. Plus the emotional kind of capitulatory, free, panic. Oh my goodness, is Bitcoin going to survive type mentality. Yeah, so I think you have to pay attention to the signals you're seeing. Is I think any trader pays attention to the technicals, right? So if you're getting those same signals, then in the very least it's giving you bullish signals. And I think knowing you'll monitor those signals, and if they start to shift, then you'll be on point and be able to react. But I think you're doing the right thing, which is following those signals. Like I said, I mean, me starting to inch in my hodl position, that's also something that you want to pay attention to as well, where I'm clearly saying that, yes, we haven't seen the flush out, but you also have to say, well, slowly Bitcoin is being adopted more and more. So maybe that's why we don't see that full flush out on crypto, is that, more and more people globally are opening, wallets and getting involved. I think that regulation is going to be something that's absolutely key and a very big positive.
So if this is the bottom, what would you say to folks? Because unfortunately, as you know, Gareth, most bottoms in any market, the high majority of people miss it. They sit on their hands and they're just waiting for something to happen, and it doesn't happen. They get overwhelmed. They don't know when to enter. What would you say to them? What would be your advice, short-term and long-term?
I think when it comes to entering, people get this kind of like paralysis by analysis, where a lot of times it's like, oh my goodness, it's getting scary, it's dropping, I don't know, maybe it's going to go lower. I'm starting to see more and more people kind of, going on against, like you said, 10,000 target, 12,000 target. And I think the key for me, both short and long-term, is saying, okay, before I even put anything in my limit orders for a buy or anything, let me first come up with my game plan, right? So let me think about, well, what is my thesis for getting in this trade here? Why am I liking it? Is it because it's fallen dramatically and we're into the 2017 highs? That's a valid technical factor, double or pivot high from 2017. And then also, once you have a firm thesis, and it should be something where, like, envision that you have to go before the board, right? The board of a thesis, topic for a college or university, and you have to defend that thesis. If someone says, well, why did you pick that level? You can't be like, well, Twitter said it was a good level, right? So you have to have like, well, 2017 high, I saw the RSI was doing this. I had to, there should be like 3 things that make a firm case for doing it. Once you have that, then you start saying, okay, well, even with those, fear is the biggest emotion that we have, fear and greed. I understand that price can go a little bit below my level. So let me decide what's my total investment in dollars before I even do a trade, before I enter anything. What am I going to put in this position totally? And then you say, okay, do I want to do just a quarter here to start it? Because then if you do a quarter, like we were talking about with the 1/6 position that I did, there's really no stress. And you're not going to get affected. Like when it breaks the 2017 highs, you don't want to be in a full position, get stressed, and then be like, oh my God, I got to get out because this could go to 12,000. That's too big of a loss to me. You have to be in that position to say, you know what? I'm only in a quarter position, or I'm only in a 6th position. No big deal. I'll just pick up a little bit more every 1,000 or 2,000 down to put myself in that position. And it's such being stress-free in trading is so liberating. It makes you think so clearly. And so again, it's just about the thesis, knowing your total investment exposure that you're going to go to, and then understanding how much of a percent of that you'll start in at what levels. Literally in 3 weeks, Bitcoin went from 40,000 to 65, 66,000. Do you really want to pay up that amount? And then also kind of juxtapose that with the emotion and say, wait a minute, everyone's too bullish. Pull yourself back and say, wait a minute, this looks extended to me. How much higher can it go before it just naturally has a pullback? And then maybe at that point, that's a buying opportunity and reevaluate it there. But I think the charts are just so honest in terms of looking at it. And I always use this analogy of saying, if I go to the mall 1 week and I'm like, oh, I need a new pair of jeans, and 1 week that those jeans are $100, and then I go back the next week and I'm like, those same jeans are $200. I don't say to myself, oh my gosh, now I really have to buy it, maybe buy like 5 pair at $200. I say, wait a minute, maybe next week they'll go on sale again and I'll buy it at $100 again, right? And yet for some reason, investors are like, wait, the higher it goes, the more I want to get in. And you have to recognize that. You have to use the same kind of thought process when you go to the mall or you go to the supermarket where you're looking for sales, right? Discounts. That's the same mentality to apply to stocks and crypto and all those things. So it's normal to have those emotions, but the best thing to do is to always go back to the chart and just look at something. So like, you go back to the 2021 high over here in November, and one of the things I stress, and I know you guys stress it too, is you don't want to be one of those chasers, right? And so when you had you're basically piercing double top, and I understand the breakout mentality, but at the same time, you also have to look at where it came from. And you have to say that, okay, listen,
Love that. What about the length of this bear market? What do you have in mind? What's your rough prediction? How long is this thing gonna last? And then what do you look at to know that it's over? What do you look at to know that, hey, we're at the start of our next bull run?
Yeah. So in terms of knowing how long the bear market can last, I think the only thing we can do is look at past bear markets. At the same time, keep an asterisk near this one because it's different from the last ones, meaning the Fed is obviously tightening aggressively. Inflation is above 2%, much above. But since Bitcoin's been around, it's really been 2% or under inflation, at least reported. So you have these different things, but really if you look at past cycles, it's been about 12 to 18 months that it takes for it to kind of bottom out. And then you kind of see what you really start to look for. And so my near term, I'm long Bitcoin. So I do like Bitcoin just for a little bit of a move up.